So I have a new favorite channel. Sandrado Plays Tennis. I'm going to show you what you can learn from his serve to help improve your serve. Now, this video is obviously courtesy of Sandrado Plays Tennis on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to his awesome channel. I've put his link in the description below. All right, let's look at his serve. He most likely has modeled his serve after Roger Federer. There are a lot of similarities. So Sandrado, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of Roger Federer in that service motion. So let's look at a couple things here that you can learn from Sandrado to help improve your serve. The first is I want you to notice where his racket face is pointing. Notice his racket face is open. His racket face, not quite 45 degrees, but his racket face is definitely open. That is indicative of using a Continental grip. Let me show you what a Continental grip is. Now, when getting a grip, you first want to know about the base knuckle of the index finger and your heel pad. A lot of coaches, they only talk about the knuckle. That is not enough. You have to have the heel pad. You have to have another place on the hand that you are keeping track of. When the racket is in your hand, it's going to be placed in your hand like this. In fact, here's the kind of the throat of the racket. There's the handle, and then there's the throat, right? It's like this. That's the racket. So you want the knuckle and the heel pad to be tracked whenever you are getting a grip. Now, you'll notice here with the racket on the left that the racket is on its edge. It's straight up and down. Strings are facing to the right and to the left. That is the correct orientation for the racket. Now, we are looking at an octagon. The top panel is panel number 1. As a righty, you're going to count to the right, and this is panel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So panel number 2 is this 45-degree angle panel. You're going to place the base knuckle and the heel pad on that panel. That panel obviously runs the entire length of the grip, that 45-degree angle panel. It's the Continental grip. That is how a right-hander should hold the racket for a serve. And for you lefties, it's the same. It's just reversed. Base knuckle and heel pad, and your panel number 2 is right here. Continental grip for the serve. Base knuckle and index finger on panel number 2. And when you hold on to the racket with that grip, that's what explains the racket face being open. So check your serve. Make sure your racket face is open. That is going to promote using the correct grip. All right, the next thing I want to show you. Let's look at his toss. I love the fact that his hand right now is over the baseline. He's not tossing forward toward his target, but his body is so turned that his hitting partner can actually see his back. Actually, his opponent in this match. It's a 4-5 USTA match. His opponent can see his back. That's how coiled he is. When you coil on your serve, it allows you to uncoil, and we'll talk about that in a second. Another thing I want to talk to you about is his toss timing. If you've watched me here on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, you know that I'm a big fan of measuring the toss using a toss timer. So in order to measure your toss timing to see if your toss is too low or too high, put the ball at the top of your head and then throw down a timer. The proper timing for your serve should be anywhere between 0.6 seconds and 0.9 seconds. What does that mean? You want to make contact between that amount of time. So we put the timer down and we see how long it takes for him to make contact with the serve. And he makes contact right there, 0.79. So obviously he is between 0.6 and 0.9 seconds. This is just a little bit less than Federer. Federer is 0.83 on average, but this is actually what Maria Sakkari has 0.79 perfectly. So his toss is absolutely perfect when it comes to the height. Another thing you'll notice with his serve that you would want to copy is how the racket is pointing off to the right, the same direction as his body. When he lifts the racket up, he does not point the tip of the racket at the back fence, but rather the tip of the racket is pointing to the right. That has the elbow pointing back, kind of like that elbow the enemy idea. Vic Braden from 50 years ago came up with that. That puts him into a throwing motion position, like he's going to be a quarterback throwing a football. And what does this do? It passes the racket right in over the head. You know I'm a big fan of having my students wear birthday hats. And to serve and knock off a birthday hat with the racket. So watch Sandrado here. Look at his racket right there. You want to talk about perfectly hitting a birthday hat. Sandrado, I would recommend that you wear a birthday hat, like a party hat, like a unicorn horn, slightly in the front of your head, and watch how you knock it off perfectly. Just like Osaka, just like Sam Groth, J.J. Wolf, Kyrgios, Roger Federer, they would all hit the birthday hat off the head. Let's talk about his leg drive timing, because this is really, really good. What you want to do is have your legs drive up when your racket is somewhere between here and here. This is as early as you'd want to be. So that's Dimitrov and Riley Opelka. This is as late as you'd want to be. That's John Isner and Roger Federer, Naomi Osaka. And in between there is actually Nick Kyrgios. This is Nick Kyrgios. What does that mean? You want to make sure that you are driving your legs up either before you hit the birthday hat or as you're hitting the birthday hat. And what's really nice is we see this line, the service line above his head from the camera's angle. So we're going to be able to see when he begins driving up. And right there, his head is going up to that line, which means his body is driving up. So he is driving his legs up just before he knocks the birthday head off. That is the proper timing. What you don't want is to be driving your legs up when your racket has already dropped down there. That means that your leg drive is too late. And a lot of coaches and players, they talk about an early racket drop. It's actually not an early racket drop. It's a late leg drive. And that's usually coupled with a toss that is too high. Since Sandrado's toss is not too high, he gets to drive his legs up at the right time. So kudos to you, Sandrado, to have the proper shoulder stretch that comes from a result of having the body go up as the racket is traveling down. So that's really, really good. You'll notice that just before contact, his racket is slightly supinated. Now, this is, a little bit to do with the shoulders angled, but you can see his racket face is ever so slightly closed. Really, really great stuff. You see this with Felix Auger-Aliassime and Roger Federer, where the racket face actually looks like they could almost use the back of the racket to hit the ball if they wanted to. He goes up to contact. He has a beautiful, just really good relationship between the forearm and the racket at contact. Really powerful stuff. I want you to check this out. Look at his pronation. Look how the racket goes from facing off to the left to then facing off to the right. And he's putting a lot of spin on the ball. And you know that because look where his racket's traveling. Racket's traveling off to the right. He's putting a lot of spin on this ball as it travels. Now, there is one thing I would mention to Sandrado that I think would make a world of difference in the amount of racket speed he is able to create as he hits the ball. And I think it would absolutely add an extra 5 miles an hour. And in order to do this, I'm going to have to compare his serve to J.J. Wolf. I got the videos in this position on purpose. Look how the tip of the racket's pointing off to the right. That's really one of the hallmarks of a really powerful serve, is that as a recreational player, you lift that racket up with the tip pointing off to the right. So obviously we got J.J. Wolf here. Sandrado, I want to show you his finish. Look how, as he's striking the ball, and actually after contact, see how his left hand is visible right here? That's his left hand. And he's already pronated. Strings are facing off to the right. This was actually an ace against Bautista Agut. And look how after he hits the ball, his body is still facing off to the right, especially his hips. You can see his lower body really facing off to the right. And we can still see, even right there, that's a great view of it. That's still his hand visible. That's his left hand visible, and we already see the racket down on the left side. He is using what is called a power X. This is where he crosses his arms in order to stop the body's rotation, and that accelerates his racket. I want to show you when you have the racket down on your left side, right here, look where your left hand is. I want you to still have your left arm tucked in against the body, because what's occurring is you are rotating your body as you hit, where JJ stops the body's rotation. When you stop the body's rotation, it actually helps accelerate the racket. Your body continues unwinding, and then you can see you're actually reaching back with your left hand. It's actually not something that you want to do if it means you're going to forego the power X. You do see some players reach that arm back, but you watch Andy Roddick, he would actually tuck the tossing arm in against his body, and then after he hits, then he reaches back. Your arm is not tucking enough, and it's just going back, which keeps your body rotating, and it actually hinders how fast you can swing. So the only thing, Sandrado, I would say in order to improve your serve at the moment is simply at contact, just like JJ here, have your left hand, that's his left hand, visible to the camera behind you, and keep it there as a way to keep your body sideways. That will help accelerate your racket, and you will serve even faster. Here's another view of JJ doing the Power X. That's how you should be finishing. This is one of the reasons why he's only 6 feet tall, 6'1", whatever, and he's able to bomb 136-mile-an-hour serve. If you watch him, Sandrado, look how he rotates the body, but then watch as he's hitting the ball, he's no longer rotating. Look at this. Look how still his body becomes. There's a lot of rotation in the body here. Here his body's facing to the back fence. Here's his body. His body is facing more toward the camera now. But look how, as he's following through, he has no rotation in the body. That was the kinetic chain that allows him to stop the body and actually accelerate the racket. So really finish with your arms crossed like this. When you finish with your arms crossed, it's going to help you maximize your serve speed. Now, if you're looking for people in your local area to play matches against or practice with, or if you want to find a coach who's close to you who can help you with your game, then use my link for Play Your Court, and it's playyourcourt.com/2minute tennis. When you use my link to sign up, you get 50% off. So, Sandrado, you are an excellent tennis player. That is very obvious. But I'm telling you, there are a couple more miles an hour you can get on your serve. So great job with your service motion and the work you've put in. But I'm telling you, that Power X, there is no doubt. You use that, you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. Sandrado, you got this.